Hi, everyone. My name is Avery Smith. Please don't be a stranger. Use the chat as much as you can. I want this to be interactive, and also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I put it on the LinkedIn chat, but I'll also have some QR codes that you guys can, and some links that you guys can connect. But today I'm going to be talking about portfolios and data projects, which is one of my favorite things. It's near and dear to my heart. And yeah, so I'm excited to be here, excited to be with you guys, and let's get into it. So let's see, gotta get my clicker. There we go. If you only get one thing from this webinar, guys, it's the idea of projects are the cheat code to landing your next data job. Okay. If you guys like, literally, if all 70 of you guys or however many people are watching log off right now and you only got this would be a great thing for you guys to capture. Okay. So say it with me. Projects are the cheat code for landing your next data job. All right. That's something I really believe in. And that's something why I chose this topic is because it's really important. Okay. So by the end of this, oh, you guys can't see the screen. Oh, I think you guys can, hopefully. I can see it on LinkedIn.
I was going to say, I can see the screen on LinkedIn as well. So I think we're okay.
So we're probably good. This is 5 actionable steps you can take today to become a project builder. That's what I want you guys to do, is become project builders. That's like the club I want you guys to join and be people who build projects with data. Okay. So a little bit about who I am. I used to be a chemical lab technician. So I used to wear a white coat. I used to wear the goggles. I used to wear the gloves. And here's a picture of me over here on the left. I was a chemical engineer. That was like what I was studying in school. And I did not like my job. I was really bored. I was not having that much fun. I was mixing dangerous chemicals together in this lab. Is like a bunch of acids and metals. And one day I actually like spilled the acid on my hands and it like started burning. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get out of this. So that was like in 2015. And then, fast forward 7 years now, I'm a data scientist. I work from home. I love what I do. Okay. So that's a little bit about who I am. So, you might be over here on the left-hand side, you might be a nurse, or you might be in business, or you might be an accountant, or maybe you're a teacher and you don't necessarily love your job. And what I'm telling you is, by projects, you can become whatever you want to be. Or if you want to land a promotion, you can land that via projects. Projects are the cheat code for landing your next career. Okay, so just a little bit more about what I do now. I run a company called Data Career Jumpstart, where I help people learn data science and analytics. I teach on the side at MIT. I run a consulting firm. I used to work for ExxonMobil as a data scientist. But this is what I'm most proud of, is I built 30 data science projects in 30 days. Okay. So I built one data science project every day for the month of August this year. And you guys can check those all out on my YouTube. Okay. Basically, I just wanted to show that if I could do 30 projects in 30 days, you guys could do one project in 30 days. So over here, I have my LinkedIn QR code and my YouTube QR code. Otherwise, you can just search Avery Smith on either platform and I'll probably pop up. But specifically on the YouTube, I did 30 data science projects in 30 days, which is like a really hard challenge that I don't think any other data scientist has ever done before. So anyways, that's kind of a fun thing. I'm going to dive into some of those details in this presentation, kind of give you a backstage pass for what I'm talking about. But how many of you guys have felt this before? If you felt like this before, put a yes in the chat. Okay. If you can't read this, it says, I can't get a job because I don't have experience, because I can't get a job because I can't get experience. And it's just like this never ending cycle. I'm seeing lots of yeses. Thank you guys for being interactive. That's awesome. Basically, it's like this chicken or the egg. Do you have to have experience first to get a job, or do you have to have a job first to get experience? And it's like super annoying, right? You guys want me to show you how I think you should be able to, how you can shatter this? Okay, it is totally annoying. This is what I would tell you guys. If you guys want to shatter this, if you feel this way and you're like, this sucks, this is how you shatter it. Bam, with projects. Okay, projects are the cheat code for landing your next data career. That is the #1 way that you can break this whole vicious cycle with projects. Because if you don't have experience because you can't get a job, then here's what we're going to do. We're going to make your own experience. Okay. That's my whole goal for you guys, is to make your own experience. And we do that via projects. When you start making these projects and you start talking about it, recruiters will start to get interested in you. And you'll start to get these messages on LinkedIn. from companies like Amazon, Facebook, all these companies will start messaging you because you're showing your worth. You're showing your experience with projects. Okay, so hopefully you're excited about learning about projects now, and you can kind of understand how they can break this whole cycle. They're the cheat code for breaking into your next job or breaking into the data field in general. Here's the 5 secrets I'm going to tell you to be able to do this. So feel free to screenshot these. Feel free to take notes. But there's 5 topics I'm going to be giving you that are going to help you make projects a little bit easier, because it is kind of hard. Okay. Number 1 is to choose the right topic. And for choosing the right topic, there's only 2 right options. You should only do a project that's based off of a hobby or based off of a job. That's it. Okay. So basically we're going to talk about this a lot, but I'm going to say this phrase. I want you guys to pay close attention to it. The best project that you guys can do is the project that you'll finish. Okay. And I'm going to say that again. The best project that you guys can do is the project that you'll finish. In order to finish a project, you have to go to motivation. You have to be motivated. In order to be motivated, it has to be passion. And you're only passionate about something you like a hobby or a new job, an opportunity. So whenever you're choosing a project, it has to be off of a hobby or a new job. Okay. Next, when we're trying to find a new job, what we're going to do is try to solve a real world problem that company's experiencing. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little demo. So in the chat, if you guys can tell me a hobby or an industry that you're interested in, maybe we'll focus specifically on industry really quickly. And I'll give you an example of how I would choose a project. Okay, we got lots of sports. Be even more specific, guys. Be even more specific. We got real estate, Taylor Swift, e-commerce, quantum, MBA, agriculture, OM1, chess. Okay, chess would be fun. Jigsaw puzzles, healthcare. Okay, we're gonna do public transport. We're gonna do Andrews. Okay, might be kind of boring to a lot of you guys, but like a lot of for instance, if we did like an NFL or a baseball or a basketball, there's just not a lot of sports jobs. So sports projects are really cool, but they're really hard to get sports jobs. It takes a lot to get a sports job. So I'm gonna focus on public transport because it's tangible, it's easy. Okay, so for example, what I would do if I was you guys, I'd go to LinkedIn. Okay, I'd go to the job section here at the top. Hopefully this is you guys adding me. If you guys haven't added me, feel free to add me right now. I would type in maybe public, or maybe I'll just type in data transportation or something like that. Okay. Go up to the search. Oh, of course my search isn't working. Hold on. Let's see if I can. Okay, there we go. And for example, here's a logistics analyst for onsemi. Let's say you were really excited about this company. I'd go through here and I would look specifically for the qualifications. It wants me to have Excel skills, SQL skills, Power BI and Tableau are a plus. Okay. And so if I was obsessed with this job, I really wanted this job, I would go, I'd be okay, I'm going to build a project that uses Excel, SQL, Power BI and or Tableau. Okay. Those are the things I'm going to use. And then I'm going to try to figure out what this company does. So it looks like disruptive innovations, focus on automotive. Let's see what else it says here. Okay, you're going to work with internal teams, regular meetings, present quarterly business reviews on the carrier's base. Okay, so what I'm probably going to do is try to I'll just try to find some data about logistics and supply chain and carrier base. I'm not exactly sure what that is. This isn't my specialty, but I would try to find some data off of this, and I'm going to try to make a quarterly business review that uses Excel, SQL, Power BI, and Tableau. So when you're hey, I don't know what type of project to do, go to the job you want and work backwards. Build the job description will tell you what project to make. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Let's see. Okay, cool. Let's see. So that's secret number 1 is to base it off of a hobby or a job you want. And hopefully that example kind of made sense. Thanks for putting that in the chat. That made sense, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, next, you might be well, I don't know where to get that data. Okay, so you're I don't know where to get supply chain data. I don't know where to get that type of information. That's my secret number 2 is get good data. Okay, and there's basically 4 main ways of getting data. You can download a CSV. You can use an API, you can web scrape, or you can collect your own data. And as you do those, they get more difficult to do, but the data sets also get more unique and more cooler, okay? So I have this little graph right here that basically shows the cool factor of a data set versus the difficulty of a data set. So downloading a CSV is easy, but it's not that cool. Versus collecting your own data is pretty hard, but it's very cool. And so using an API and web scraping is somewhere in between, okay? And so just some resources for you to maybe kind of get your brain started on this is downloading data. My number one resource is Kaggle. Kaggle has lots of data sets. You can check them all out. Kaggle.com, Kaggle. They have thousands of data sets. You can just download them and you download a CSV, bam, data's there. Google has a Google data set search engine. Data World is another good website that has a lot of data sets available to you. Using an API would be like using the Spotify API or the Twitter API or the Weather Channel API. And that's like basically a step up from downloading CSVs, but it is still kind of standard. So for example, I love doing projects with Spotify and Twitter data because I think that's very reachable, very fun, and pretty unique. Then you might web scrape your own. This is like where the data set doesn't really exist out in the wild, or exists out in the wild, but not in a structured form. And so like you're actually going out there and you're actually like structuring like the data, like you're web scraping, you're figuring it out. So like, for instance, web scraping Wikipedia and Reddit are two really good places to get that type of data. And lastly is collecting your own data. So I typically wear an Apple Watch. I'm not wearing it right now, but that has a lot of data that's really interesting. Your screen time, that's one of the projects I teach students a lot of times, like looking at your screen time and analyzing how much time you spend on your phone. And then maybe like your financial data, like what are you buying and stuff like that, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. The easy versus impressive data sets, you kind of go to those different locations. Okay, secret number 3. Are you guys still with me? Hope if you're still with me and you're following around, give me a yes in the chat, just so I can make sure I'm not being boring, okay? Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. This is one that I would like really like. This is something that's not taught very often, but there's 3 different types of a project. There's the Skillshare, the data story, and the product. Okay. And I'm gonna break those down each right now, but I'm gonna tell you that the data story is probably the medium place to be. That's probably where all of you guys should be. Once again, we kind of have a similar thing with difficulty and impressiveness, or the cool factor. The products are the coolest, but they're the hardest to build, okay? The data stories are kind of the in-between, and then the Skillshare are easy to do, but they're not that impressive. So Skillshare, data story, product, okay? The cooler, the harder they are to do. Here's a Skillshare. So Quinn Tran is a really good example of someone who does this on LinkedIn very well, of what I call a Skillshare. A Skillshare is just going to be like it's like a 1-step code in Python, or maybe like a 3-step code in Python, or it's 1 SQL query, or it's 1 graph in a dashboard or something like that. Okay. So it's not like a whole project. It's just 1 section of a project. And, you know, Quinn's done a great job of growing her LinkedIn audience by just sharing these pretty often. So like, for example, this is a really good example of someone who does a Skillshare. Your skill, it's like 1 to 2 sentences and like the actual thing that you did, okay? Next, there's the data story, and this is the one that I like. I have an example here. It's taken from Medium. If any of you guys have been on Towards Data Science, the Medium article or publication, that's one of my favorite places to find data stories. This one is called Football Coaches Analysis Using Python, okay? Now, this is like, you have paragraphs, you have like a complete story. You're actually like explaining stuff. There's like a story, there's multiple lines of code, you know, there's multiple graphs. You're basically writing an article. That's the data story. So notice like there's lots of code here. There's paragraphs of text. I couldn't screenshot the entire thing, versus over here, it's like 3 sentences and a screen grab. Okay. See the difference? Not the same. This is a lot easier to do. This is more impressive. Next, we're going to move to the third one, which is the most impressive, but it's the hardest to do. And that's called the product. And on here, I have a little QR code for the McDonald's app that I made. It takes you to the YouTube video where I basically showed you this, but I basically created this web app. If you guys go to this URL, you guys can play with it yourself. And that's kind of like the product aspect. of this is it's like a tool that you can give someone and they can play with it. So it's not the story. It's like a tool. It's like an app. Okay. So I built this using Streamlit and Python, and I basically made the McDonald's McHealthy tool, which basically you put in like your limits of calories, your limits of fats, your limits of sugar, your limits of protein, and it will devise a menu for you to optimize to eat healthy at McDonald's. And so this is a product I built as part of my 30-day project challenge, where I literally built 30 data science projects in 30 days. So after this, you can, get this link, or you can just go to my YouTube. It's like pretty recently on my YouTube, and watch the video. It's pretty fun. I actually like go to McDonald's and like order the most McHealthy combo I possibly can, which is kind of a fun experience. Okay. So I'm just going to pause right here and just ask if you guys have any questions. I know I'm kind of going a little fast, but just as a reminder, this is the third secret: the Skillshare, the data story, the product. Product is the most impressive, but it takes the most to actually do. The data story, it's a good, happy place to be at. The Skillshare is easy to do. So if you're just getting started, just make some Skillshares. It's a good start. This is what a Skillshare looks like. This is what a data story looks like. This is what a data product looks like.
We do have a couple of questions, so good time to stop. First, unrelated to the topic, but and I know, Avery, I don't think we talked about this, but will these slides be available after? I mean, they'll be available in the recording, but
I'm happy to give you guys a copy, or I'll post on my LinkedIn.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
And then where's the best platform for sharing our projects? Like, for example, LinkedIn, YouTube, Medium, a personal blog, etc.
That's a good question. The answer to that is kind of nuanced, and we're gonna kind of get to it. Let me see. No, we're not gonna get to it right here. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. This is just something I really believe in. It's like, it's not good to have a bajillion unfinished projects, and it's not good to have unfinished portfolios. And so like, one thing that really holds people back from making portfolios is it's hard to make portfolios. It's like actually difficult to make portfolios. It can take a little while. So my advice is to not get stuck where you're at, and to just make progress. So like, one of my favorite ways, one of the easiest ways right now, to make a portfolio is just to have it be your LinkedIn featured section. So Courtney, this is one of my students that I'm helping right now. Courtney, you can see her portfolio. I mean, she has a separate portfolio now, but she just started by posting her projects on LinkedIn and putting it in her featured section. That's like a really easy, quick way to build a portfolio. But to be honest, one of my favorite ways, I like GitHub pages. I think if you're going to if you're going to build a portfolio in the long term, GitHub pages is probably the best place to go. So.
Okay. And then going back to talking about products, do visualization and dashboards count as products?
That's a good question. Let's go look at that. Do visualizations and dashboards count as products? I would say it depends on how I would say visualizations, well, for both of them, I would say it depends on how interactive they are, and how standalone they are. A Tableau dashboard that just has like hover tips and maybe some filters doesn't count as much. Maybe if it's really applied, like it's like really specific for like a specific reason, then yes. But you have to be very, I would say yes, but at the bottom of the ring, I guess.
And final question before we continue here. How do you get good at storytelling with data without a job?
Go watch this video. Go watch this video right here. This, I think, is a really, so yeah, this is in the products section, but I made like maybe it's like a 6 or an 8 minute YouTube video about why I wanted to build this product. And like, I kind of lied, to be honest. I was like, I love McDonald's. I don't actually love McDonald's, but I did it for the story, right? So the whole story was like, I love McDonald's, but I'm trying to lose weight. like in the video, like I'm running without a shirt on and like all this stuff. And so like, you kind of like, oh, this is a story. And in the story, I basically am like, I love McDonald's, but I want to lose weight. And everyone knows McDonald's isn't healthy. So I use data science to be able to tell me the optimal McHealthy combo at McDonald's so that I can go to McDonald's for every meal of the day, but lose weight at the same time. And so I definitely don't think you need a job to get good at data storytelling. There's kind of a story I just told without it being my job per se. I'm just a guy who wants a McDonald's, you know?
That's living the dream.
Exactly.
All right. So that is the last question for now, at least.
Okay.
And I think you can continue on with what are we on step 4?
Yep. Sweet. Thank you. Okay. For step 4, I'm going to say this is an easy one for you guys. One of the easiest ones to implement, and that is focus on visualization. We as humans love to see things. Okay. We love to see, like, for instance, I'm going to ask the chat right now, if you guys could only keep one sense in your whole body, what would you keep? Sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch. If you could only keep one, which one would you keep? So basically, you would, if you only kept smell, you could only smell, but you couldn't see, you couldn't touch, you couldn't taste. First, we got some. Hannah says I can't choose. A lot of people say taste. You guys like food. Wow, I'm impressed. Okay, there's some in there. Nathan agrees with me. See, sight. That's what most people do. Is they most like to keep their sight. And that's because we as humans, everything is dependent on our sight. We love to see things. So one thing that's really easy to do with like awesome softwares like Power BI, Tableau, Flourish, you can make really cool graphs really easily without coding, and they can be really impressive. And they're not that much work, because if you can do PowerPoint, you can figure out Tableau. Okay. So visualizations, they're easy to do. They look impressive. You can start today doing them. So like, if you don't have any data projects, you don't have any portfolio, just start with a visualization project, because that has the lowest bar. And that's what we're going to actually get into. The last secret right here, the last secret for this particular presentation is the best project is the one you finish. Okay. And that's what I'm meaning here is it's a low bar. We're going to talk about that right here, because how many of you guys have started a data science project and not finished it? Okay. I want you guys to say me in the chat if that's you. Okay. Honestly, I'm going to put me in the chat because it is me. Okay. Started many, finished none. That's awesome. Me, lots of me's. Oh my gosh. That is crazy, you guys. But don't worry. I'm the same way. I have a bunch of unfinished projects on my laptop that have never seen the light of day. But let me tell you, these projects end up being like little marketers for you out there in the world. And they help you attract recruiters. They help you attract hiring managers. They help you land jobs. And if you don't set these little agents, these little like these little marketers for you, if you don't send these little marketers out there for you, you're not going to get help. You're not going to get the interview. You're not going to get the job. If you just keep your project to yourself on your computer, nothing's going to happen. Like nothing's going to happen. So we have to be publishing and finishing our projects. And I saw we had some a good question on the LinkedIn. Isn't every project seems like an unfinished project, since all we do is keep optimizing the model many times over a period of time? We're going to get to that here in a second. Okay. But the best project that you can do is the one that you'll finish, because you don't want to be like Squirtle here, where you have unfinished project, unfinished project, unfinished project, unfinished project, another project idea. Woo! That is not what you want to be. Okay. That is not what we want at all. We do not want to be this. So how do we prevent this? Okay. How do we prevent this? Because we don't want to be like Squirtle. We want to have published projects. So one thing that you can do is you can actually listen to this podcast episode I did with Matt Francis, who's now a data science manager, but at the time I interviewed him was a data scientist consultant, I think. And he was a geoscientist. Okay. He was a geoscientist. So not a data person, not a data person at all. Did not know much about data. I can't remember if he did a boot camp or a self-learned. I can't really remember, but he really wanted this job. He landed an interview and he was trying to build a project for this company. Because remember, if we go all the way back to the beginning, okay, if we go all the way back to the beginning, I told you guys when you're choosing a project, in order to get a finished project, you either choose off of a hobby or a new job. He had chosen a new job. He was really excited about this new job and was trying to solve a real world problem that job had. Okay. That's what he was thinking about. He was trying to do that. And he started this project and he didn't finish it. Okay. He couldn't quite finish it. But here's the thing. He didn't let it sit on his computer. He still told people about it. He published the unfinished project. He was like, hey, this isn't done. I tried this, but I got stuck here. This is what I was thinking about. Here's why I did this. Here's why I did this. Here's why it didn't work. Here's what I would do better if I had more time. And here's how I'd improve it in the future. And the person interviewing him was like, wow, you just showed me like that you could provide value to us. Like, yeah, like you didn't finish it, but like your thought process was good. Like you realized you hit a roadblock and you figured out how to get past it. Like, that's awesome. And he ended up getting this job. And so Matt actually landed his first data science job with an unfinished project. If he would never have pulled that project off of his laptop and shown it to the recruiter, shown it to the hiring manager, put it on LinkedIn, put it on his resume, put it on his portfolio, he wouldn't have gotten the job and now he wouldn't be a manager. So anyways, Matt tells like his whole story in this podcast episode. And the podcast is called Data Career Podcast. It's like episode 30, or maybe it's like episode like 15 or something like that. Episode 21. I just saw that the link is in the chat, both places. So, okay, cool. So I'm going to talk about modular projects. Okay. Cause this is how we're going to fix it, is with modular projects. Okay. So basically you have modular projects, which is, I'm going to liken to a marathon. Okay. How many people have ran a marathon in the chat? I want to just know if you've run a marathon in the chat, put me. If you haven't run a marathon, but you've maybe run a half marathon, maybe say half. Maybe you've ran a 10K, a 5K. Okay, we've got some 5Ks. Nathan says never come close. Half, 5K, 5K. All right, you guys are some runners. Half. All right, Francis. We got a full from Francis. That's awesome. Congrats, Francis. Okay, Thanos as well. Awesome. Did you guys just start off by running a marathon out of the gate? Was that like the first, for those who have, was that the first race you'd ever run? I'm assuming not. And if you have, maybe you're just like a freak of nature. But most of you guys probably start with a 5K. Then maybe you did a 10K and then you did a half marathon and then a marathon. I ran my first marathon last year. I ran my first full one. And the year prior to that, I ran 3 half marathons. I ran a 10K before that, and I ran a 5K before that. So see like how there's these little building blocks of like the 5K, 10K, the half marathon, and the marathon. Like you're not just running a marathon out of the base, right? So that's the same thing as projects. Stop trying to do a marathon project. Don't go for the gold at the beginning. Go for the 5K. Start with the 5K. Or maybe have the vision of the marathon and build it up piece by piece, because you can't run a marathon without first running a 5K. You can't run a marathon without running a 10K. You can't run a marathon without running a half marathon. And so that's the same thing with projects. There's different parts of our projects where we could cut them off and be like, I was aiming for a marathon. I only ran a 5K though, but I'm going to cut it off here and publish my 5K. Okay. So I think that's basically what I'm telling you to do, is in projects, instead of aiming to do the full marathon, figure out what the 5K, the 10K and the half marathon point, and publish your project at these little interjections. Yeah, that's basically my motto here of you need to be doing modular projects, and you need to pick a low finish line. Okay. So that means instead of trying to do a marathon, you're going to try to do a 5K. And to show you guys an example of this is a tool of, I built on Streamlit. Once again, this is on my YouTube. You can watch me build this project. I actually live coded this project. So you can watch this one on YouTube. It's the NFL mystery project that's on my YouTube. It's like my second or third to latest video. I built this in Streamlit. That basically, this is like a player of an NFL play. It's like, this is like a little video of an NFL play. This particular case, it's a punt. So the green's the football, they just punted out of bounds. Okay. So this is the project I built. I had the really good plans to make this amazing, to make it the full marathon project. But you guys will watch, if you guys watch the whole thing, I did this in the first hour. Okay. I did the 5K in the first hour, but I was going for the marathon. and I only gave myself 2.5 hours to do this project. So I actually didn't get further than this. I tried to run my 10K, or I tried to run the half marathon, and I fell short. And so instead, I only had the 5K. And what a lot of you guys would do, and I mean, you guys, it's fine, it's not your fault, but a lot of you guys would be ashamed of the 5K. You'd be like, oh, I didn't finish it. I wanted to build the marathon. I didn't build the marathon. I'm not going to show anyone. I'm ashamed. This sucks. I suck. I'm not good at it. See how that can spiral to negative feelings? Instead, what you should do is say, you know what? I ran a 5K. Check it out, everyone. Here's my 5K. Here's how I'd make it better in the future. Maybe I'll come back to actually do it in the future. Okay. So, yes, that's basically my motto to use. You can always go back and add more. Okay. So, I think now would be a good time to kind of answer some of these questions. Nathan, do you care if I just take them, or you want to read some to me?
However you want. I can read some. There's a long
go ahead.
one.
Read some.
I was gonna say there's a long one that while I'm reading it out loud, you should probably read it when we get to it.
Okay, I can do that one.
Okay, so first one here is case studies and projects. Are they the same thing?
Sure. I think so. Case studies and projects can be the same thing. Usually case studies like are given by like a company. That's like where I hear that word most of the time, or that phrase. But yeah, I think you can think that case studies and projects are synonymous.
Okay. And then does it I think they're referring to does the project count, but does that count if we follow a course and complete a project that is included in the course?
Yes, for sure. Any like capstone projects should definitely be in your portfolio. And honestly, like even any homework assignments that you guys do, like I think you should make the homework assignments, turn those into skill shares. You know, if you can't make it a data story, like a lot of capstone projects are going to be data stories, but you can make the homework or like exercises skill shares. So yeah, definitely.
And yeah, and in the long question I was referring to from Valentina, I think I'm actually going to save that one for the end.
Okay.
Because it's a little different. But what can you say about like a personal little blog, like a Google site or Blogspot as like a showroom for your project?
Yeah, those could definitely work as well. I'm less familiar with Google site. I used to use Blogspot back in the day when I was like 15 years ago, kind of. So I wouldn't probably use Blogspot because I think it's a little outdated now, at least for the US. I don't necessarily know where you're from. But I don't think they're getting a ton of traffic in the US. I would try something like Wix, is a good example of like a website builder that has a blog. Google Site's good because it's easy. Medium is another good or a good place to host your portfolio. It doesn't really matter where the portfolio is hosted. It just has to be accessible, and it has to be easy to do. Otherwise, you're never going to build it. To be honest, you just
yeah. And then the next question, I think you've already answered, but GitHub versus LinkedIn for publishing. What's your choice?
I hate the fact that we as data scientists or data analysts even like say the word GitHub, to be honest, because in terms of portfolio, because GitHub Pages is good for a portfolio. GitHub is bad for a portfolio in the data world, in my mind, unless it takes a lot more work. It's a lot harder to have a good GitHub. So if you're saying GitHub in terms of GitHub Pages, then that's the best solution, but it's going to be a learning curve. LinkedIn is not as good as a solution, but it's really easy to do. And why not do both? I mean, I think.
Yeah. Do you think projects can still be effective in the job market given the current economic outlook in the US? It seems like every entry-level position requires 1 to 2 years of experience.
That's a great question. If we go back to this, like we're fabricating our own experience, right? Like that's what we're doing. We're making our own experience. I think when people say they want 1 to 2 years of experience, they don't actually care how many years of experience you have. Cause like also years of experience is so hard to quantify. Like what if I like use SQL once a year for 20 years? Does that mean I have 20 years of SQL experience, even though I've only used it for like, let's say 20 hours versus what if I spent this whole week, 40 hours using SQL? I have double the experience that other person has, but not in terms of years. So I kind of hate years of experience. And I think when hiring managers and recruiters are asking that, they're actually asking you, are you capable? And projects show that you're capable.
Okay. And then does the choice of tools, R, Python, Tableau, Power BI, etc., does the use of tools used make some projects more impressive than others?
I would say depending on the job description. So if you we're here at the beginning, we looked at a new job that we were interested in. We saw what was required in the job, and we based our project tools based off of what they use on the job. So I wouldn't be like, I'm going to do a Tableau project. I'd be like, look, this job I want says that I need to know Tableau. I'm going to do a Tableau project.
Mm-hmm. And then last question, and I think it's based off of whatever your preference is, but which is better, Tableau or Power BI for visualization?
That's a good question. I like both of them. I think they're both really good. To be honest, like I think they're both great. I think Power BI is easier to use. I think Tableau is more listed on job requirements. So if you know one, you'll figure out the other in a couple hours. So I would just say choose one and you're good.
All right, perfect. That's it for now.
Sweet. That's awesome. That's pretty much all I have for you guys is I want you guys to remember, like, if you guys remember one thing from this, right? It's this, that projects breaks the cycle, that projects are the cheat code for landing your next job. And then in terms of how to actually build projects, the 5 secrets I talked about today are focus the project on a job or a hobby, get a good data set. There's the data share or the skill share, the data story, and the product. Those are the 3 types. Focus on visualization because it's easy and fun. And then pick a low finish line because we don't want to run the marathon and finish halfway. We want to run the 5K and just be done with the 5K. So pick that low finish line. And those are my 5 secrets for you guys. So that's all I have. I appreciate you guys letting me be here. If you guys want to connect with me, these are the best 2 places to connect with me. Once again, if you don't have a QR scanner, you can just search my name on both platforms and you'll probably find it. But happy to turn it back over to Nathan, take more questions or whatever we go from here on.
Perfect. So before we take more questions, Valentina, we're going to get to yours here in a minute. I'm going to steal the screen from you, Avery, really quick and share about next week's webinar before we come back here and finish with some questions. And I want screen 2. There we go. All right, so you all should be seeing our webinar for next week, Natural Language Processing and Mental Health with Negin Rezai. She is a instructor of neurology at Massachusetts General Hospital. But in this webinar, we're going to be talking about how natural language processing can help address longstanding problems in neuropsychiatry, along with the potential hazards of this technology. So if you're looking to see how NLP can be used in the real world, definitely come take a look at this webinar and sign up if it's interested to you. It'll also be on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of our normal live stream places as well. And this will be October 11th at noon Pacific time. So same time as today. All right. So Avery, if you want to pull up those QR codes again, so people have a chance to get to your platforms. And we do have a couple of questions to answer. So first, Valentina, I promised we'd answer your question, so we're going to do it now. I have listened to many on their data experience. What is your opinion on the success of someone without a math or science background in a 3-month data boot camp course? A few I listened to said it's not a good idea to rush and rather do it in your own time. Valentina has a scholarship to this 3-month course, and is it worth the stress over those 3 months? So Valentina, I am biased on this question, so I will let Avery give his opinion.
I want to hear yours too, though.
Mine, I think it's worth it, but I think it depends on the program you're in. What are your goals once you finish the program, and what is your background coming into it? So, and of course, curriculum. So Valentina, my suggestion would be to come talk to me at Data Science Dojo, and we can go through your background, your goals, what is the curriculum you'd be going over, and we can talk about it, because I think it depends on the person. I think they're worth it, but I have my own 3 to 4 month data science bootcamp that we do. So again, my opinion is biased. I think it's worth it, especially if you're just trying to get a jump start. If you don't have the math or science background and you're just looking for a jump start, where you're trying to get your feet wet in data science, I think it's great. But again, it depends on the course. Some courses are better than others. Really, Valentina, yeah, it's a tough decision. It's not easy.
I agree with you. And I'm also biased because literally that's what I do. And I love that you use the word jumpstart too, because literally my company name.
That's the name of your
Data Career Jumpstart. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's super worth it because like for example, some of my students have been not having college degrees, like in call centers. And 3 months later, all of a sudden they're data analysts,
Mm-hmm.
and like, do they know everything? No. Was it hard? Yeah. But like all of a sudden they're making way more money. They have their foot in their door, and on the job, they're getting paid to learn. There's 3 ways to learn in life. You can pay to learn. I did that. I have a master's in data science. You can learn for free. I did that. You can do that on YouTube. You came to this thing today. This was free. Or you can get paid to learn. That's the one I want to do, is how do I get paid to learn stuff? And I think a lot of these little boot camps, if you can get your foot in the door and get a job, and you can figure out the rest on the job, I think that's a good place to be in. So I'm a fan personally, but I'm also biased. So
all right. And so Valentina, I hope that was helpful in our own way of biased answers. So next question is, every time I try to do a project, I feel that I have some lacking in the knowledge. So I go to study the subject, but I get soaked in courses, videos, blog posts about it. What is your advice?
Interesting, Mohammed. I definitely think you need some fundamentals, but I'm also a fan of, learning by building projects. So like, for instance, I would almost argue that nowadays, like, I don't study anything. Like I just want to build a project and I'll just try to figure it out as I go. And so I think you just got to, kind of blast through those barriers, because that's just like, just if you're really motivated to finish the project, if you really are passionate about the hobby or the job that you choose, then like you're gonna blow through those barriers. So maybe with the project, I'd argue that maybe you're not actually passionate enough, like you're not actually motivated enough to break through, because it can be kind of boring to go through the blogs and the Stack Overflow things. But so I'd argue maybe you're not doing the right project because maybe you're not like the fire inside of your heart. I don't know, Mohammed. We'd have to talk offline to actually know, but maybe choose a subject you're more passionate about, or just realize that's life. You have to go through the Stack Overflow. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll fail 10 times before I try to look something up on YouTube. So,
that's awesome.
Do you have any good book recommendations for learning data science?
That's a good question. I have lots of good books. In terms of like one of the first ones to get, I really like this one. Hold on. I really like this one, Data Science for Business. I think it's like a good overview.
I think we also, in our boot camp, I think we used to give that out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a really good one. That's probably the one I would recommend, like book wise, for just like in general. I have like I have a lot of data visualization books, but yeah.
Next question. I've been trying to finish one of my projects for months, but I keep on saying I'll do it tomorrow. How do you motivate yourself to push the 5K bump?
I mean, once again, this is like a motivational question. It's like, let me ask you this. What could happen if you like finish the project, you publish it? What's like the best possible thing that could happen? And what's going to happen if you keep saying tomorrow, like it really, like a lot of what I actually do now is like, it's just motivation. It's like, how like, if you keep not publishing your project, your life is not going to change. You're not going to get the what's it called? Promotion. You're not going to get a new job. Nothing's going to change. If you post it, the worst thing that happens is no one looks at it. But that's it. Nothing bad's going to happen. So I would say just finish it and publish it. And if you're like, I don't want to finish it, you're not motivated enough to finish it. So you need to choose a new project.
Yeah. And then how much Python should one person know?
All of it.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It doesn't matter. It just depends on what job you're going for. So if you're going for a Python job, a lot, but if you're going for a data analyst job, probably none. So
if possible, can you please break down the components used to create the McDonald's product? I think you do that in the video, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys can go check out this video and literally, oh wait, that's not the right one. Crap. Wait, which one was it? This one right here. You can watch it, but this is just Python and this is Streamlit. Yep. That's the only two tools I use. Python, Streamlit, GitHub. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And then what tools do you use the most day to day?
I use Python because Python's like a Swiss Army knife where it's not like the best at anything, but I can literally do anything with it. So that's personally what I use, but it's going to vary from person to person.
Mm-hmm. And then I think we have a couple minutes left. What's the difference between a data analyst and a data scientist?
This is a good question. And I really hate the fact that there's like the term data analyst, data scientist, data science, and data analytics, because they actually like don't go like together all the way, to be honest. So difference between data analyst, data scientist for me is data analyst is going to be focused on descriptive analytics, what has happened in the past. Data scientists can be focused, well, not only on descriptive analytics, but predictive analytics, what might happen in the future. So data scientists are going to program more, and they're going to have machine learning. And those are like the two biggest differences between a data analyst and a data scientist, in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then is it possible to find someone to collaborate on a project with? I like working as a group. It inspired me to complete it inspires me to complete the work. What is the best place to find a friend to collaborate?
That's a good question. I mean, joining something like Data Science Dojo might have kind of that community vibe, right? That's something
Yeah,
I try.
we have a Facebook group that I would probably tell you to join and just post that you're looking for a buddy to work on projects with.
And
But I
is that
think
a free Facebook group?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally free.
Yeah, see, that's a good
And I
option.
think there's other good LinkedIn groups that, I mean, I don't run them, but there's a ton of data science and machine learning LinkedIn groups that would probably also, you can join for free and might not be a bad place to post, because that's more of a professional setting versus Facebook.
Yeah, for sure. I think those are great options. There's lots of free Discords.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of places. I will say this though. I keep going back to racing. I had a big race year last year. Did lots of races. But let me ask you this: like, if you want to run a 5K with people, what do? You sign up for a race. You pay money, and sometimes we pay money for stuff because we won't do it unless we pay money for it. Like, for instance, a marathon. Like, if we don't pay money for it, it's really easy to not actually follow through and actually do it. So anyways, so that's something I've noticed in my life is I'm not going to run a half marathon unless I sign up for the race. And then I'm there with my friends, my buddies, this community around me, and it's fun. So just some food for thought.
Okay. And then we still got about 7 minutes. So we're going to try and go through as many as possible.
Okay, great.
So I have an engineering background, non-data science, non-computer science, but I'm working on a side project at my company that uses recurrent neural network for sentiment analysis. I want to get a job related to deep learning / natural language processing, but I'm worried about this field that'll be near impossible to break in for someone with just a portfolio with no computer science background. Do you have any tips for how I could increase my competitive edge?
Yeah, I mean, basically my whole philosophy about getting jobs breaking into the data field is really like the one prong is projects, but you're like, even if I have a portfolio. So I'm gonna move to my second prong, and that is networking. I'm a big fan of the combo of portfolio plus networking. So a lot of the times when people have job openings, they hire someone they know. Or they hire someone's friends that they know, or someone's that they know, someone's that they know, or something like that. So if you can have a good portfolio and then have a good network, I think short of a degree and actual experience, those are the only two things you can really control. To be honest, like you can't really control not having experience, and you can't really, unless you want to go back to school, you can't really go back to school. So your network and your portfolio, and if you have those two good things usually happen. So.
Perfect. How much stats do you use day to day? Is it more of an implicit understanding and the tools will do the math, or more explicit use? This person has a STEM background, and some of the more advanced stats slash probabilities scare me.
You're
Scare me
probably
too.
fine.
Yeah.
It depends. If you want to be a data scientist, stats plays a bigger role. If you want to be a data analyst, if you can figure out what hypothesis testing is, like a t-test, what a p-score means, you're probably good.
Yeah. Probably good.
Yeah.
All right. So someone told me to focus more on R and also to focus on SQL instead of Python. Do you agree? Why is there so much confusing information for beginners on how to start learning?
This is my response, you guys. I don't know if that's reversed or not, but that says Python greater than R. Okay. I think it depends on what you want to do. I think Python's a better option than R for learning personally. But focusing on SQL is probably good advice if you want to become a data analyst. Personally, I actually kind of suck at SQL. I never really used it that much as a data scientist. So really just depends on the job description you're trying to go for, but focusing on SQL is not a bad thing. I wouldn't focus on R personally. But that's just me.
Yeah, I would tell everyone learn SQL. It's worth it. All right. What do you think about Kaggle? I've heard that one who is looking for a job must have a profile. Is that true?
No, it's not true. You don't have to have a Kaggle profile. I think it's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. I think you should have a Kaggle profile, but you don't need one.
Yeah, great for practice.
Yep. And good for getting cool projects and cool data too.
Mm-hmm. All right, sorry, just combing through the questions one last time because I kind of went out of order. There's somebody asking for you to repeat your suggestions for publishing project work, pros and cons again, because they felt like you went a little fast. We'll have the recording up in a day or two, so I would suggest just watching the recording again, because we only have a couple minutes left.
Yeah, and just do GitHub pages. That's just the best one.
Yeah. What do you think? Can Python be a substitute for Excel?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of things in Python. So.
Yeah. And then, okay, we'll do last question here. Do you think competitions are important?
No, don't think they are. I think they're cool to do. Like, I think if you have the opportunity to do them, you totally can and you totally should. But you don't need one on your resume. Is it a good opportunity to learn? Yes. Will it push you? Yes. Is it a good project? Yes. Is it mimic real life? Yes. But like, do you absolutely need one? No. But they can't hurt you, I don't think. So yeah.
And if you're like me and if competition motivates you,
yeah,
all the better.
Exactly. It goes back to the whole, like, you're not going to go run a half marathon this Saturday unless there's like an event going on for it, right? Like if there's an event, you sign up, there's other people there, you're like, okay, I'm going to run a half marathon. But that's kind of what a hackathon or a competition can be. Okay, perfect. And that is all the questions that at least I can see. And I hope I didn't miss any, but there were quite a few. So thank you, Avery, so much for being here with us. I think based off of the engagement, everybody else was very happy you were here too. Thank you all for joining.